Right, so update to my recovery. Where do I begin, really? Gosh, the camera quality of this is not too good today. Gosh. Where do I begin and how do I begin? And honestly, it's really at this point just sort of, okay, just start at the beginning and see what happens. And there we go from there. Let's try and make at least some kind of... There. That's not so bad, is it? Oh, apart from my face. Okay, so basically I went out the other day. I fell over and I smashed my elbow, sprained my wrist, and tore my rotator cuff again. Fell down at a party. You know, when you fall down at a party and no one helps you up, that's when you know you're in a bad place. And so for the rest of the evening I was stuck in this fucking party. It was not good for my recovery. By the end of it, I was surrounded by loads of narcissists who had been just sort of like drug fueled. And I started to realise that's how they kind of like interact. That's how they kind of stealth their way into your environment. They kind of... Emotional people, they're kind of naturally bubbly and happy, like, because they're in empathy with the universe. Yeah, they have feelings of sympathy and empathy, and it's why they feel things so deeply. It's why they get hurt so deeply as well. And narcissists use drugs. It's very real, toxic. It's not even a joke at this point. Like, the toxic people are the people who are genuinely doing drugs, like speed and coke and stuff like that. You know, they say that weed is a gateway drug. I smoke weed all the time, and it helps with meditation and you know, body pains and stuff like that, and it helps with the rotator cuff. I mean, this is the fucking umpteenth time I've torn my rotator cuff. I should get surgery, but I don't want to get surgery because then that's... Anyway, you know, you take a bit of cocaine, right? These narcissists, all of a sudden, their eyes start shining, and then they start being really lovely, like, oh, hi, how are you? And giving you a hug and stuff like that. It's all narcissism. It's all like guarded layers of emotional, like, protection that they've built up over time. And when the drugs wear off, they go back to their kind of psychopathic, sociopathic sort of nature. And so I'm stuck in a party with basically a bunch of sociopaths thinking, how the fuck did I get here? Like, why the fuck am I stuck in this fucking party? And, you know, I was fucked. You know, really just fucked, to be honest. You know, I was in a lot of pain. And knowing that people were kind of like handing out drugs made it even worse, because sure, it's the kind of toxicity that, but you know, if you're an empath and you're in pain and no one's helping you, and they're handing out painkillers basically, like MDMA and fucking, you know, cocaine, and you're like, I just really could use some pain relief, and no one's giving you any pain relief at all, while they're all sharing all the drugs between themselves but not giving you any, and you all of a sudden you just realise, fuck me, like I'm in too much pain now. I get it. Ow. That hurt. What a fucking deep punch in the gut. And so I kind of felt really demoralised, and someone came up to me and then they were like threatening me and stuff like that. And again, I started to realise, oh, you know, I'm in a sort of this liberal kind of movement here. And I realise there's no place for me to go now. I realised there's no place for me to go in society because it's broken on both sides and neither one has a fix, and that's the problem. So it's like I really am on my own. So when you're on your own and you've only got yourself to rely on, that's when the shit starts to get real, and that's when you start to realise, as a person, as an independent, as an empath, as a human being, all of a sudden it's all on you, and you've got to just do the work. And it's so hard because you've only got yourself to rely on, and if you're deeply wounded as well, and no way to heal yourself, you know, pain medications are still strictly regulated. The black market is controlled by the liberal kind of sort of areas, so they sort of don't want to give drugs to people who they don't like, and it creates an even worse class divide because you have a lot of rich people and a lot of poor people, and you know, you've got the people who are like feeding off of these people. They're the drug dealers, the toxic people, the narcissists, the one who kind of come down off their perches, see a pretty girl, you know, give her a couple of lines of coke, use her sexually for a few hours, leave her dumped on the street kind of thing when they're finished with their pleasure. You know, she'll come back because now she's hooked, and now they've got another hooker, they've got another bit of meat, fresh meat to use, you know. And it's all fucking hateful, and it's all disgusting. And it's all hateful and disgusting, basically. And I just connected to a deep pain the other day as well, with my mum again. And every time I connect to that pain, it's like another fucking heart attack, and I can't breathe because I know it's just another fucking pain my mum's going through, and there's nothing I can do to stop it, and there's nothing I can do to make it feel her better, and it's killing me inside every day. There's nothing I can do. And the more I try to help her by helping myself, the more I realise people hate me, the more I realise people hate her, the more I realise people are after both of us, and the more I realise, you know, when you become a target for people's narcissism and hatred, they are given the kind of like the permission. It's, you know, mum and dad have gone away, right? You know, and the cookie jar is up there, and you know, when mum and dad are there, you're not allowed in the cookie jar, but they're not home. You know where the cookie jar is, you're going to go straight there. And you know, as long as your parents don't come home, it's consequence free. And then it gets to a point where it's like, I want to stay consequence free now, especially when you commit more and more serious crimes. And there's a tipping point in a child's life where they realise they're going to be punished, and they start to lie, and that's narcissism. That's when the deep narcissism comes in, because they think they're going to get hurt, they're going to get punished. And if they know they're going to get punished, they're going to double down even harder, and they're going to keep doubling down even harder to protect themselves from being hurt, because they know they're going to be hurt. And if they could find a way to absolve themselves of any consequences, they'll do that. And that's what narcissists do in a later stage of life. They realise, as long as I absolve myself, as long as I'm okay with it, I can do whatever I want. And as long as the people surrounded by me are okay with it, I can do whatever I want. And that's when narcissism becomes cancerous. Because when the cancer becomes, when it just decides, I am a law unto myself now, basically. I am the kid at home. My parents are away. The cookie jar is way open. I'm just going to do whatever I want, yeah? And no consequences to that. And the more a narcissist will live like that, the more that they'll create large groups of people around them who are also running from the same kinds of punishment. And so that's when the cancer really starts to grow. Because the more you kind of run away from your responsibilities of facing being punished, facing the light, and facing your mistakes, and kind of moving forward and going, I've made, you know, big mistakes in my life, trying to change. Actually, like PewDiePie, I was saying this the other day, compared to Logan Paul, he's made so many efforts to say, I'm sorry for what I've done, I'm trying to be a better person, and making so many efforts, as opposed to Logan Paul, who continues to do the same shit over and over again. And it's, you can tell the difference in the person and how they actually, act and behave. Mental illness aside, my mental health fucking started kicking up, because of this as well. Because it's not paranoia when you're walking around with torn rotator cuff, fucking bruised arm, you're fucking walking around a party like this, and everybody's just not even helping you, and you're just limping around, and nobody's helping, even though they could, even though there's loads of drugs on them that could actually have alleviated my pain and helped me out of that situation. None of them did anything like that. I had to kind of like get out on my own. And when you like get out on my own, all of a sudden it's like, what do I need to do to get out on my own? It's like, I'll get out on my own. And then it's like you digging deep to that fucking anima inside of you, of like, tooth and nail, to survive this. I'm gonna get out of this fucking shithole, one way or the other. And then you see the person who's been tormenting you, and you go, fucking get you. And you see, that's the bit where for an empath, they're waiting for that. They're waiting for you as an empath to break. So they can go, you see, they're crazy, they're sane. You're like, I'll show you he's crazy. I'll show you. I'm a survivor. I'll fucking survive. I'll survive you. And then, when it comes to it, on a deep level, you've got to go back, and you've got to nurse your wounds. You've got to look back at that hatred that you felt in that moment of surviving, of just saying, that next person who fucking looks at me with a smarmy, shit smiling grin while they've got medicine in their pocket that could make me better, and they're like smiling, have you learned your lesson yet about group mentality? Toe the line, and it's all fucking mind-numbing, brainwashing, and in the end you fucking escape, and you're like, right in my heart. And you pull it out and you go, actually, I've got a knife now, thanks. That's the knife that you gave to me, I've got now. That's my knife. If I ever see you again, I've got the knife that you stuck me with. And the rest of them as well. And it leads you into an isolated and lonely place. And this is where narcissists want you to be, on your own. They will feed off of your energy. They will use drugs and other mind-controlling drugs like that to genuinely keep you enthralled. If it's a natural sort of attraction, law of attraction, like two people meeting at a pub one night and having a drink and falling in love and having that chemistry together for so long and then losing it. Imagine what it's like when you're being brainwashed on acid and fucking pills and fucking drugs like that, and it's affecting your brain and it's affecting your mind and your personality. It's when you take a drug, it absolves. You don't worry about that. Don't worry about talking to that girl over there. Don't worry about stealing that fucking thing. Don't worry. That's what the drugs are telling you. Don't worry. You are loved. Everyone loves you. And if the people around you are all doing the same drugs and you're all hugging together and you're all loving, you're like, I'm part of this. That's what they want. And then as soon as you think that you are a part of it, that's when they isolate you and cut you out and discard you. That is how narcissists work. Narcissists are not the isolated ones. They're not the broken ones that you see on the street. They're not the ones that are angry, that are screaming, like that. They're the broken ones. They're the victims of the narcissist, yeah. They are the victims of the people who are being, targeted by these groups and used as sport because they consider themselves to be above other people, whether in intellect or intelligence and beauty or whatever. They consider themselves to be above even God. In fact, I was reading a kind of short story the other day about a cult, and it's a cult of hate, and its core principle is we are above all man, but we are above gods as well. Like our plans and machinations are like even above the plans of gods. We are, and we use our plans to enact nothing but hatred onto the world, onto their fellow human beings. And then one of their tactics is specifically to do the group shunning, to make you feel worthless, to make you feel like there's nothing left in your life until you get to that moment where you're like, ah! And then when you get to that moment where you're like, ah! Then they feed that, ah! And then they feed the beast, and then they keep on just feeding the beast. And you know what? If you keep on feeding the beast, yeah, with all of these drugs, that steroids and fucking bodybuilding and mind-enhancing drugs like ecstasy and LSD and MDMA and all of that, you create these fucking foul, toxic monsters that are just, controlled by, the femme fatale behind them pulling the strings. Like, oh, my poor dog's off a leash. Whatever shall I do? You created a monster and then set him out into the world, and then you're sitting there like, oh, men are so toxic, just so that hatred that, she's incapable of enacting is enacting out through an avatar of her manifestation. Do you see what I mean? And so when someone creates an avatar of love and that's destroyed, that's a real crime, because it takes so much to build love. It's so easy to create hate, but it's so difficult to build love, because love means sacrifice, love means putting yourself out, love means putting yourself in harm's way, love means putting someone else first, not yourself first. It's the opposite of hedonism. It's selflessness. It's being selfless, and in its selflessness, the greater good is risen as a whole. But it's so much easier to just end up doing loads of drugs and becoming a drug fueled monster, because you can go around punching people in the face, you can go around group bullying and gang bullying people, you can feel like maybe you're a pride of lions walking around the Sahara, taking the kills as you find them. And it's like, that's how human beings have evolved, but that's just how narcissists operate. That's not how human beings have evolved. We evolved to create a civilization above that narcissism. And narcissism in itself is like, just think of it like this. And this is why people simplify it, because when you intellectualize things too much, people lose interest. But if you just say, look, let's just say fucking all narcissists are fucking, devils or fucking demons or fucking whatever, you put them on the lower echelons of that fucking scale. It's like they have turned away from love. They've turned away from light. They turned away from happiness. What they've turned into is themselves. They've turned inwards. They've turned into hedonism, gluttony, self-aggrandizement, the hubris of them, that they're somehow gods, because you take these drugs and it can make you feel like a god, but that's the delusion. And in fact, they even had that in Red Dwarf once, where the guy takes this drug and it's a thing, and he accosts Lister and is like, oh, you look what's it called, you look like you're God, because he's high on drugs. I was looking at videos for torn rotator cuffs, and it's like you've got to heal it, so you've got to keep the pressure off, but you've also got to kind of like get the pressure off, so you've got to lift your shoulder. So I've gotten into the habit now of lifting my shoulder and then dropping it like that, so it's like this. So I've kind of constantly trying to like raise my arms, trying to keep them balanced like this, so at least my shoulders are square, and then I have to kind of lift up that relieves the pressure off the rotator cuff for a moment, and then down, and then it's like someone said, do those kinds of lift the rotator cuff off until you feel the rotator cuff kind of the pressure's off, and then lift it up even more, and it's so hard, it's so difficult. But it's easy to fall into the mindset of narcissist to the devil when I'm an angel. It's not black and white. You know, you got to think of it along the lines of, you know, narcissists are scared children, really. They're the kinds of children who, you know they've done wrong, but instead of admitting that they've done wrong, they admit nothing, and they don't believe they've ever done anything wrong in their life. And they also don't believe that they're capable of doing anything wrong, because they believe they're somehow divinely chosen by God, you know, and that everything is their kind of, you know, they don't understand the kind of, oh gosh, I look like a mess, don't I? But what's new? Basically, you know, it comes down to in the morning, I was angry. I was ready to kill. I was so ready to fucking kill. I got, you know, and this girl who'd been tormenting me all night long, she was fucking horrible. Because it's always a really beautiful, pretty girl who likes to fucking try and dig the knife in. And so while she's kind of like, you know, going around, sort of just trying to make sure that it's kind of, you know, seen that, like, she is being a slut for every man in this party, you know, and every woman in this party, and that she's, you know, gonna be, you know, a sexual object for these people, and that is something that she's completely happy about doing, just not with me. And then kind of like, you know, going, does that make you feel sad? And stuff like that, you know, trying to get some kind of emotion out of me of like, have I hurt you yet? Are you in pain? Can I hurt you more? Because I'm trying to feed off of that kind of emotion. By the end of the night, it kind of just ended up going, I ever see your face again, I will cut you. And I was just like, I heard myself saying that. And it's, have you ever heard yourself scream? Like, have you ever heard, like, you know, when I was a kid, I got run over by a car, you know, or accident, you know, you fall over or something like that, and all of a sudden your body starts acting regardless of whether or not, like, this is all subconscious movement. So look, I'm doing all of this subconsciously. I'm doing it consciously now. Arnold Rimmer, at your service. This is what, you know, I voice my, that's in my head. Fuck off. Like, but that's what they want to do. That's how they do it. That, you know, everything in them is about trying to be, because they are, narcissists are smart, they are intelligent, they do work hard. What they do, they feel like that, God, I look like a, I don't know what it is about my hair, there's something about my hair, it just makes me look like a mad professor today. I'm the mad professor. So yeah, the mad professor. And I'm completely mad. I've gone completely mad. Yeah, they want to meet that perfect person with the perfect, you know, that perfect kind of, and then they want to break them until they were kind of like a mess. Yeah, a mess, a real mess. And I saw a picture of this woman, actually, I don't know, was on Facebook, and she'd obviously taken PCP or meth or something like that. I think it looked like PCP when I just her eyes were just completely just glazed over, and and her brain, something went wrong in her brain. And I know what that feels like. I can feel the way that my nerves are all twisted in my neck and stuff like that from the ankle. From the accident, I can feel my rotator cuff torn. But hey, look, can you see my rotator cuff? Can you see it's torn? Do you feel its pain? No, you can't feel that. You can't feel like this part here is where it feels. Right. Oh, there's that. Oh, fucking painful. One point is so painful. So, it's like, if I wasn't pointing to my pain and going, ow, ow, this need treatment, with medications and stuff like that. And what it does to me, what it does to my brain, what physical pain does to your brain. But what drugs do to your brain is it kind of messes up its natural forming logic patterns. And what will happen is, and it's fucking disgusting, it's like chopping your body up to pieces, basically. And the way that these people are able to, very intelligent mind tricks and stuff like that. You see them on the internet all the time. Stuff like Darren Brown doing stuff like that, mind tricks, yeah. Weak-willed people, even strong-willed people have difficulty fighting mind tricks, okay? They could just feed you some acid, cut you a couple of lines of fucking, dirt. If you want a nice hooker, you'll give them a couple of lines of coke or something like that. If you want a fucking skanky fucking, retard fucking, trash that you're just gonna throw on the street, they give them fucking meow meow and fucking this other shit. And what that shit does to your brain is it's like oh gosh, what is it like? Yeah, it's like dropping soap on the floor. That's what it's like. It's like dropping soap on the floor, and all of a sudden your brain has just got all of this shit in it. Meth and fucking shit. And then instead of this being this lovely, smooth object of beauty your brain is supposed to be, it's got all of this fucking meth and shit in it. And then your brain is trying to function normally, right? So it's trying to go, hey, leg, move. But, the way that the acid and methods, and the fucking other kinds of substances that they put in your body, they use whatever, antipsychotics are the worst. If you give someone acid, loads and loads of fucking acid, and then you give them fucking shit ton of fucking antipsychotics, that will just break you to pieces. It will just break you to pieces, like mentally. And I've seen people who, went in kind of like super kind of man type, super girl type, nothing can touch me. I'm a gymnast, I can bend and be flexible in any direction. You can't break me. I'm basically a fucking blob of jelly, right? And a bit of meth in them, some acid in them, some fucking... After they've blown a gasket, after they realise that their brain can fucking bleed internally, and then their fucking eyes all go, and all of a sudden, that gymnast who thought that they were like, hey, I can do anything, is now like, just a fucking train wreck. And then, you send that fucking retarded, like, mess that you've, like, used back out onto the street, and then you've got another homeless person, another homeless guy. Obviously the guy's... the girlfriend's guy's gonna go, what did you do to my wife or my girlfriend? I'm gonna fuck you up. And then obviously they fuck the guy up, and you've got another tramp on the street, homeless, hungry. What happened to him? These people are genuinely, on every level, disgusting, nasty people. I don't know how many squat parties I've been to, man. And the thing is this is the thing. This is a warning to people out there, right? I've been to squat parties since I was fucking 6 years old. I am not a fucking noob. Yeah, I've survived in fucking pits of fucking needles. Yeah, I've crawled out of pits of needles, and I know how to look after myself in those situations. Yeah, but not a people don't. And you find yourself in those situations, man, fucking run. Just try and get out. And if you can't get out, just survive. That's it. The name of the game is survival. You don't talk to anyone, you don't take anything from anyone, you keep yourself to yourself, and you shut down. And, polite and hi, smile, don't give too much away, don't smile too much, or don't be too miserable, just hi, polite, smile, walk on. They are after you, they're looking for weakness. They're looking for weakness in you so that they can pounce. And then after that, doesn't matter how good you think you are, they will fuck you up. Anybody. And that fucking Blade Runner, maybe, hopefully, that will wake someone up, And it's like, I say that, like, oh, I've got tactics in this. No. My brain has been through so many squat parties, yeah. You can't break what's already broken. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh look, I'm in another room and people are being arseholes all night again. But if you've never been in that situation, yeah, that's soul-destroying nightmare that could happen to anybody. But I can't stress enough how taking risks like that can also lead you to greater pleasure, and that's what they do. I've seen couples walk into squat party, and leave the girlfriend going off to some gangster's mansion, and the guy, kicked out in the back of an alley or something. Yeah, and you think you're prepared for where you will end up, but you won't. And what you've got to understand is when you're walking into like the lion's den, so to speak, you're gonna get torn apart if you're not one of them. And if they've targeted you, then there's not much help. And there's only so much. You'll always find people in a squat party who are willing to put an arm out for you. There's always going to be someone who's going to be like, I'm got too much invested in this to not put my wing out. In some form. And believe me, I'm not losing anything. Do you know what I mean? So take the protection while it's there, because it's not going to be here for very long. There's only so much I can do. And nobody likes a goody two shoes in a squat party, because they're kind of trying to, throw off their shackles and like become demons and let loose and have this kind of like, orgasmic kind of blissful, animal liberation of sexual desires and stuff, right? That's what they're trying to do. And of course, someone who's been through that, out the other side several times, been a victim and a target myself, and also been, to the other side of where, I've ended up at the gangster's mansion having a great time and stuff like that, completely whizzed off of my face, on coke and speed and that, not even realising, like my best friend's fighting for his life in some fucking, back room in a fucking squat party, like almost dying, like desperately trying to like save his girlfriend from getting raped by like loads of guys, but too busy in the fucking toilet sniffing lines of coke and having loads of sex with like loads of guys who are just shoveling more and more coke, up my nose or whoever's nose. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've been there, I've done that on both sides, on every level. So yeah, when I kind of turn up to a sort of squat party, people kind of like, oh well, the police are here, and I'm just like, I'm just here for the music, and if there's any drugs going around, and if I see anything happening that's untoward, I'm gonna do something about it. Like, I'm not just gonna stop and like let someone get raped in the middle of the fucking floor just for everyone's amusement so that they can circle jerk, yeah? So all I do is like, give that give that girl who has the kind of like, oh my god, I need to escape, how do I get out of here, you know, there's the door. You know, oh my god, I've made a mistake, like help, you know, or like, oh no, I've lost my phone, what do I do? Oh, like, I'm, you know, 18, I've never been to a squat party before, and like everybody, like, you know, I'm 36, you know, old men in the fucking party, like, you know, 17, 18-year-old girls, never done drugs before, never been to a party before, never experienced anything like that before, and just shit scared. And when it happened to me, there was no one around to be able to go, hey, it's all right. It was just pure narcissistic abuse until it was over, and then I had to kind of pick myself up and get out. And everyone's laughing at you along the way, every single step, you know, ha ha ha. We really destroyed her mind, her body, and her soul. And every step you take to the door is another laugh and another fucking dig at your, not just your ego and your pride and all of these things, and your dignity and your self, you know, image and all of this, that they just kind of strip from you, yeah, and just kind of leave you like knowing, you know, and what's the tagline? You're not a special snowflake. And yet you went through the whole process of doing that. So, you know, if you do that to everybody, no, I'm not special, but, you know, you really went out of your way to try and hurt me, didn't you? And, yeah, nowadays, and I realise nowadays I don't really have to do much. You know, I sit there and someone will kind of like naturally just sort of come up to me. You know, because I kind of, in a squat party, you like gotta do what you're gonna do. You gotta do what you gotta do. You do you. Fuck everyone else. Yeah, you're interacting with them. They're interacting. They want to interact with you, and you don't want to. Fuck off. Yeah, it's a squat party. Yeah, go fuck yourself. You know, I'm busy here, sitting down, listening to music, chilling out, having fun, trying to make love, right? And you'll naturally find people will gravitate to that as a bubble of like, I need to get out. Like, over there, they're fucking raping someone with latex and fucking whips and chains, and she's like, you know, half dead, and they're choking her to death and stuff like that. It's like, and I just want to sit here and listen to Bob Marley and smoke some weed. And you know, that's the kind of person that I'll meet, and I'll be like, yeah, let's talk about fucking anything. You know what I mean? You know, let's talk about fucking price of apples or whatever. Let's get into some really deep debates about religion if you want as well, because that's where all of this stems from. And you know, you step on people's toes, but I don't care anymore, and I will just keep on fighting. And I got to the point where in my mind, when you start fighting, you start to get into a rhythm of fighting, and after a while, that's when you really like, yeah, this is just flow now for me. I'm in it. I'm in this, and I'm not gonna fucking quit. It's like someone knocks you out of your flow, and you're like, actually, I don't feel like knocking out my flow. I'm gonna just get back into it. Just get back into the flow, and just kind of like, you know, do your thing. Yeah, because everyone's doing their own thing. They're dancing, happy, singing, having a good time. Someone tries to knock your flow out. You know, you rock, you roll. And remember, it's not how you rock, it's how you roll. You know, and a rolling stone gathers no moss. And that's how I want to live my life. That's how I've always wanted to live my life. And I had these people at this squat party coming up to me going, you're a fucking Nazi. You're a fucking Nazi. I'll stab you in the fucking face if you ever come back here. I don't want you around here. And I said, I don't want to be around here. Don't want to be a part of your clique. Don't want to be a part of your crew. Don't want to be a part of your fucking squat party. Don't want to be a part of your fucking social justice movement. Don't want to be a part of your BDSM fucking shit club. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm here for me, not you. And one day, although I doubt it, because you're a narcissist, you're going to get that you're not the center of attention. You're not the fucking center of the world, right? And the rest of us, yeah, are completely content in our own little worlds that we have for ourselves. You know, this little place, this little kind of like thing that I'm doing for this YouTube channel of my recovery, is so important. And it's me talking to me, learning about me, learning to love me again as well for all of the bad things that I've ever done, not just to myself but to other people. Learning that some things are sort of like unforgivable and really do scar you for life, and some things are not so black and white, and you know, there's other things that are kind of grey areas, You know, but there are, you know, certain bits of life that are, you know, undoable. You know, you can't, irreparable, irreversible. You can't go back and change your mistakes. So it's not how you rock, it's how you roll afterwards. You know, and my friend said, "Oh, rock and roll Natalie once." After, you know, she basically just, you know, treated me like shit, and it's typical narcissistic fucking behavior, really, to be honest, of just like treating people like shit. And she was like, "Rock and roll Natalie," and I was like, look, I get what you're trying to say as well. I was like, yeah, fuck it, man, rock and roll. You know, because I know what you're doing as well is just your own version of escapism because of how you raise your children. I'm not fucking judging you. I just wish you would not fucking take it out on me. That's all. You know? Just stop taking it out on me. Because I've got my own shit to do. And all I do is send love and healing your way, and you don't fucking send any mine. You know? I have to do it myself, and then, you know, you get jealous that I can do it myself, and that's something that narcissists is like, you know, like, for example, someone tried to equate my drug habit with me being a narcissist. I said, well, no, my drug habit wasn't a choice. It was something that happened to me, actually, because again, in my youth as a kid, you know, I smoked weed and stuff like that. But when the car accident happened, and I dislocated my shoulder, you know, and my neck, and you know, they said I would never walk again. You know, threw me on the garbage pile and just, you're finished, you're done. We don't love you anymore. We don't care about fixing you anymore. We don't want to fix you anymore. You know, you're a complete discard, and just threw me on the shit pile, basically, and I had to do it all on my own. And it hurt so much when you kind of look out the window and you see, you know, everybody go, you know, with their rehabilitators going, "Come on, you can do it. Hey, here's some more medication to help you get through the pain. Hey, come on, you can do it now. You can do it." And I'm like doing it on my own. And then, you know, they're all like building up this kind of like, we're, you know, we learned how to grow together, and you just didn't grow with us. It's like, you left me on my own to survive, and I did. And I don't care if you don't like that, like what I've become, because you did that to me. And then now it's like, I had to learn how to like heal myself. Like, you spent so much time like healing each other, like you become codependent or whatever. And you call me a narcissist because at the end of the day, you could have healed me as well, but you chose not to. You chose to just, and it on a level is like, that's such an important lesson to learn. It's such an incredibly important lesson to learn, to know that you can do this on your own. You know, you can. You've got the power to do this on your own. You are so strong. You don't need a helping hand, right? You are powerful enough to be able to do this on your own. But it still hurts so much to know that there's a kind of pain relief for this, and that the only shit that they give me is this fucking codeine, which is cocodamol even, and it makes me feel sick. And that like the bespoke drugs like ecstasy and MDMA are all controlled by the fucking, you know, liberal arts media gang. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how they decide who's going to be shiny and who's not, who's going to make it into the narcissists club and who's not. And you struggle on, you know, and then one day they see you standing up again, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "You fucking doubted me, yeah? You tried to kill me. You attacked me from behind. You've attacked me head on. You've attacked me from within. You've attacked me from my family, from my friends, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You've attacked me. You destroyed me. That was your best shot, wasn't it? You thought I was dead. And now I'm staring you in the fucking eyes, standing up straight, smiling in your face, and you're shit scared now, aren't you? And you should be. And I like let that go. Let that negativity go. And then someone will trigger me and I'll be like, that pain will come back, and it's like, you know what? Start to realise a torn rotator cuff can really fuck up your health destabilisation. Like 1 minute you're like happy-go-lucky, and the next minute you're like, because the pain, and like you're kind of consumed by the pain, trying to get on with your day, and someone will say something to you, and you're just like, fuck off! Like, oh shit! You know, I'm in so much pain right now. No one does anything though. Stuck again like this. It's like, I don't know how many times they have to keep on trying to kill me before they realise that, you know, they can't. And that, you know, it's not their right either. And that the what they're doing by cutting me off from love as well is also, you know, cutting me off from the universe. And the universe is also feeling that as well. And the universe is also saying that's wrong. So the universe on so many levels is contemplating what is happening on a human level to me and to everybody else on the planet. The universe is an encompassing force that everyone is a part of, not just some. And when narcissists create these enclaves of people who are cut off from the source of the universal energy, and then they kind of dictate who is allowed to be part of the universal energy and who's not allowed to be part of the universal energy. The universe starts to go, you don't get to decide who is a part of me and who is not a part of me. I get to decide who is a part of me and who is not a part of me. Not you. Me. And the universe will enact some kind of karmic justice in that sense, right? To balance out the injustice of what's happened. So the idea of social justice is, what you're saying is, you're either saying that you're taking on the role of someone of the universal karma. You're taking on the role of universal karma, which the hubris of humans are not beyond. Of course you'd want to be like the prophet or God or some fucking messenger. You know, you can't just be a human being, can you? You've got to be social justice warriors, you know, in your fucking groups, like being the word of God. I had a fucking guy come up to me, Liverpudlian by the way, and that's important because my mum's from Liverpool. I love Liverpool, but it's a Liverpudlian accent, eh? And comes to me and is like, I am the word of God. And I'm like, not even with any ounce of fucking absurdity about any of it. Genuinely like, I am the word of God. And I'm like, what? No, you're not. And what fucking part of you mentally thinks that you think you can stand in front of me and proclaim that you're the word of God and only preach hate? Wow, dude, you're fucking pathetic. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, they're going around trying to say, you know, that like they are the force of karma, that karma is justice, that it's a battle of the sexes, that it's men versus women, that it's yin versus yang, that it's good versus evil. And meanwhile, the universe is really just kind of a mindless kind of spinning thing, right? But it still has this universal energy that needs to come through life. And what humans are doing is creating a dam. And they're saying, well, we decide who gets to feel the universe, not you. And so in that way, they're creating a wall within the universal pattern that stops the universe from being able to function normally. Because it's not within the universe's nature to withhold anything. Like, it's within the universe's nature to expand and to keep on expanding and to create and to destroy, and it's just a natural process. Yeah, but what you're doing is you're kind of saying, no, none of that is allowed. We're just going to siphon off everything. We're going to build a wall, and then we're only going to let what we want through, and the rest of the universe is denied. That's a whole fucking lot of universe to fight. I mean, that's a battle I don't think you'd win. Like, that's like one species versus the universe. Like, how long do you think that's going to last? You know, we could do a little spin on it and say, let's make it Warhammer 40,000. Let's say that Warhammer 40,000, and in the future, the human race becomes a technologically advanced spacefaring civilization taking the wars to the stars. How long do you think that's going to last? Not long. You know, everyone will come out and like fight a good fight. You know, I'm going to fight the good fight today and then die. Eventually, the human race will die off. You know, eventually the galaxy will die. You know, eventually, you know. So we know that, but in the moment of what we're living now, we're creating these really microcosmic patterns of dissolution of universal spirit. You know. And that's why I think that's why they do the, narcissists, they'll do cocaine, and all of a sudden the empath that they're with, it's like, I'm an empath too. And for the while the cocaine is in, the empath won't know a difference until the cocaine wears off, and then all of a sudden there's a glaze that comes over their eyes because the drugs have worn off, and they just start looking at you like meat, and you're like, shit, man. You know, tricked. That's how narcissists fake emotion. Because to them, from a narcissist's level, emotion really is just chemical romance. It's just, if I put X and Y together, I can make a love that lasts 10 days. You know? If I combine these chemicals together, I can make a love that lasts forever, right? I'm just saying that when people are kind of going to be putting those kinds of ideas into the universe, that from a narcissist perspective, it's all a chemical romance. From an empath's perspective, it's very real. You know, love is real, feeling is real, emotion is real, empathy is real, sympathy is real. And when you experience life like that on a daily basis, it can become really painful as well. You do hear about children dying or animals being abused, and it physically hurts you. And I think that's where the kind of the saying "bleeding heart liberal" comes from. But at the same time, these kinds of people, they're not like empaths. Their brains formed very naturally without any interference, and then after their brains were allowed to mature naturally without any interference, they were kind of given the absolutely best and most perfect path to enlightenment from A to B, and to just follow that. And then along the way, they get given supplements, and the MK Ultra program is specifically designed to set up. So, you start off on your steroids to build up muscle. Once you build up muscle, you start to, depending on what you're working with, you put more steroids in, you're going to get a grunt. You put more, LSD, acid, maybe ketamine and things like that, you're going to get more of a kind of an intellectual kind of commanding commissar type person, so you're really starting to kind of create bespoke soldiers for your army. And so when they get to the end of this kind of MK Ultra training, they've gone through the process of mind control and LSD, group initiations, blood rituals to make sure that you've got the solidarity between you. All of this stuff happening all the time, every day, creating mini circles of power, mini groups of power, and individuals to control them. And essentially they just become these kinds of enclaves unto themselves, and that's what they want, because they want these kinds of individualistic groups walking around being agitators in society, because they don't want society in the country that they're invading to run well. They want the country that they're invading to be broken and to not run well. So it's all about information disinformation, information blackout, information overload, information crossovers. The buzz term is fake news right now, but it's always the same. Propaganda wars are always the same. They're not here to communicate, they're here to destroy. If they were here to communicate, we would have just had a really meaningful communication about why it is I'm in so much pain and why it is I keep on screaming out in so much pain. But a narcissist is incapable of being able to understand anything from other than an intellectual level. They're the kinds of people who have never, broken a bone, so they don't know what it's like to break a bone, so they don't know what it's like to feel that way. And then someone breaks a bone in front of them, and it's a completely foreign experience, and they kind of look at them like they're a thing, and they kind of go, what's happening there? They're completely dissociated. And after, they can go weeks and months in dissociation, just staring, reading books as well, because they read, they're very intelligent people. Again, their brains are allowed to form naturally without any education. Like, they're allowed to form their own opinions naturally. And then once they were fully grown at the age of 18 and they were fully matured naturally without any education, just social interaction like monkeys, just putting loads of kids, just keeping the social interaction at a minimum so it's non-violent, it's non-aggressive, and it's conditioning to kind of just someone growing up, teaching them etiquette, teaching them manners, but at the same time not teaching them anything other than just social manners and social interactions. And then by the time they become 18, you imprint it with acid, you increase it with the pills, you increase it with the cocaine, you magnify it with the DMT, and you've got an opinion that is so weaponized that is almost completely unbeatable. Short of maybe one or two things going wrong, everybody's opinion is based in some kind of logical fallacy. That's the point. You have a human being who makes up his mind at some point. And for the rest of their life they think that. That's it. And the imprintation and all of this stuff that they go through. So when the kind of liberalism sort of took over and the liberation of the 60s took over, they were like, well, how can we take this to the masses? And you have the hippie movement, and it seemed to work for a while. But because they were giving out these bespoke MK Ultra weapons, basically. Weaponized drugs to turn humans into weapons. And, we have now a system of war where, we've created certain power structures like pornography as a kind of way of like proving, like, look at the kind of supermen that we can make, look at how inferior you are genetically, look at how inferior you are in your strength. It's pure narcissism, because at this stage they're kind of like building their perfect body, they're building their perfect self, they're idealizing themselves, they're becoming in themselves a god, because at some point they got sold the idea that there's a god. Maybe they even got indoctrinated into a religion as well, or a cult. At some point, they got told that they were gods, or they got told that they were Anunnaki, or they got told that they were special, that they got told that they were monarchy, that they got told that they were above it, or that their genius that they felt like when they kind of like picked up a guitar and practiced days and days and days and days and days until they managed to play a tune is genius. That they're genius, and then you increase it until this human being ends up believing that they may as well be God, and you create kind of Elon Musk, Elon Musk is one of these kinds of people who comes to the forefront of being a millionaire, a balding, middle-aged nerd with no hope in his future, and basically was just, I'll sell my soul to the devil for riches. And it was like, what have you got to lose? Nothing. And he's done so many good things with what he's sacrificed, but what he's sacrificed is so much, because he's really had to sacrifice his life, isolation and loneliness and all of this, his search for love. That's sad. And he's become, if you notice, a very strong and kind of powerful man. He's already a super intelligent man. So imagine a super intelligent man being given the MK Ultra treatment. If you look at a picture of Elon Musk then and then a picture of Elon Musk now, he looks younger, fitter, stronger, better, faster. He doesn't look like the balding, scrawny nerd. And it's not just about getting into the gym either, because you can hit the gym every day. But if you're not actually in the program, you're not going to actually see any gains. You're not going to see any change. You're not going to see any beauty differences. You're going to stay exactly the same. You're just going to be working in the gym every day, and that's it. And you're going to come back and you're going to be like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of definition there. I can kind of tell, maybe. My stomach's maybe a little bit flatter. But when you're on the MK Ultra program and you're on speed every day, you're on acid at regular intervals, you're doing your bespoke pills, you're doing exercise every day. 2 months, boom, complete transformation. Like, I've seen people go into the program, big fat weeble, come out of it, boom, supermodel. You're like, where was that hiding under? Because it didn't matter. See, and this is the lies thing. They kind of trick fat, like, people like that who think that they're fat. Like, if they get into the gym, it's a trick. So many people like that will go to the gym, and if they're not on the program, they'll just end up being fucking a fat guy in the gym, pumping iron for no reason and not getting any gains. Or they'll lose a little bit of weight and get a normal body. But like, these people are being turned into superheroes, like super porn stars, and it's all kind of narcissistic sort of dig at other nations and other technologies, kind of, look what we're making. We're creating the future of the human race. We're becoming gods. That's where this starts to get really dangerous, because you're now playing God. And that's where it starts to get really dangerous. So we got like, and the problem is with all of the things that have happened recently, people are starting to kind of feel like maybe we can win. Human beings are one of the most incredible species ever. If you chuck them into a situation, the likelihood is it will find a way out, because we're survivors, and it's what we're kind of bred to do, is survive. We're kind of like, hey, we are that absolutely bottom of the rung, the very low level fucking animals on the food chain, but we are capable of being able to overcome any obstacle on the planet, and in fact we can do so much. It's what makes us so dangerous. It doesn't make us gods. It makes us dangerous weapons. And the thing about a gun is a gun, and it can't be anything else. There's no, it doesn't matter how much a gun wants to be, a dog. It's not. It's a gun, and guns are, weapons. Human beings may have more potential, but they have to be, because they're weapons. They have to have the potential to be able to overcome any challenge. They have to be able to say, yeah, well, that seems impossible. I can overcome it. But that's what human beings kind of, designed to do. We've got a problem and I need to figure it out. So, at the moment, we're doing this, we're playing God. That's the dangerous part of this, because when you play God, what you're opening up yourself to is, the very reality that, the universe doesn't like that when you do it. Like, we're expressions of itself rather than the thing itself. And that's where this kind of like hubris of humanity comes in. And, there's just the connection of like saying, oh, blah, 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 whatever. It's all good. Fuck's sake. Maybe the human race is what the universe wants as its perfection. But I have a feeling that if the human race was to, follow the natural progression of its species and its instinct, we would just become no better than locusts in the universe, just moving from planet to planet, strip mining and moving on, and becoming like the equivalent of space fleas roaming the galaxy trying to find the next planet to plunder. And honestly, I don't want that for the human race. Elon Musk's idea is grand. We'll go into space and we'll become a spacefaring civilization, like Star Trek. But the reality is we're more like space fleas. And, I think it's sort of time to deflee the dog, so to speak. And we're just going to have to, take it from there. Because I don't feel like the human race is going to have an awakening. Because every single person is buying a cup for life and then throwing it in the bin. So you've got a fucking garbage pile of cups for life that last forever. As opposed to making plastic cups because it's bad for the environment, because it's harder to break down. But making a cup for life, that's okay. And that's the kind of level of backwards thinking the human race has sunk into. Like, instead of thinking, sustainability, reusability, in a sense of the earth, the way that the earth processes reusability and sustainability, we think the way that parasites do. Is this permanent? How do I make it permanent? Because also it's such a sad shit to be in, because unfortunately human beings are kind of like naturally attuned to being weapons, and they have this broken part of their brain. It either gets filled in or it doesn't. If it gets filled in, it's a possibility that the human being can kind of achieve this sort of level of nirvana and sort of jump off into this universal flow, right? And if it's not, what happens is human beings are naturally, all organisms in life are naturally predisposed to just surviving. And when humans need to survive, it's the worst, because they're given the worst possible outcome. They go, you could be immortal, but only if you manage to make the impossible happen. And all of a sudden, your mind starts to go into that survival mode. And when you see someone surviving, someone who thinks that they're going to make, someone's going to become immortal, that if they do they're going to be immortal forever, all of a sudden human life becomes very cheap. It's like 100 million people have to die so you can live forever. What? Really? You put on a website, £50 million to step on a cat, and everybody's like, oh, I do it. Of course you would do it, because you know that that money would bring you a level of comfort and sustainability for the rest of your life. Imagine now being told, I'll make you a god if you do exactly what I say, and kill that person over there and kill that person over there. I'll fill in the gap in your broken human genome and make you immortal. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do anything you want. Because humans don't want to die. They're programmed with this fear of death. Please don't let me die. I don't want to die, please, you know. But they do. They are going to die, and they don't seem to understand that this is the cruelest joke that's ever been played on anybody. Because essentially the rest of the universe is immortal and forever, and that this particular species is kind of like born of a kind of failed experiment, and as a failed experiment, it's like every now and then they kind of come back to see if maybe they do that, it works. You know, let's see if what happens if we chuck this into the mix. Maybe something will happen. Maybe something will happen. You know, because they're not thinking about human beings. You know, they're thinking about what can they do to entertain themselves for eternity. You know, so they create this planet, and then they just kind of torment it, and that's kind of like on an intergalactic level, on a universal level, right? But on a very human level, it's just basically like anyone picking on anybody, you know. Create a target and then bully it and get what you want out of it. And that's the thing about rape is, you know, men and women have always been in this kind of like, men want to have sex, women don't necessarily want to have sex because their bodies are kind of like in tune to the nature of the cycle of Earth in a bit of a different way. And men kind of like 24-hour sex, right? And when a man gets told like, oh, you know, oh, I don't want to have sex, but he's already in a feral mood, and he wants what he wants, he's going to take what he wants, whether you like it or not. And then he's going to just do what he's going to do, and then he's going to just be finished with you. And your like only position as a woman is to just kind of let it happen and hope that he doesn't go kind of completely mental and kill you or something like that, right? Well, I mean, that's fucking fucked up thing to do, right? But he's getting as long as he's getting what he wants, as long as he's practicing his hedonism. And, you know, she's going to practice her hedonism in her own way and going into herself to get through the experience, right? Well, the Earth is our home, and it's being raped. Unfortunately, it's the human race that's doing it. Like, we're strip mining fucking oil slicks, fucking plastic over the city after city after skyscraper after skyscraper. You're replacing the beauty of nature and trees and water with fucking glass and concrete and steel and oil, and you're turning Eden into fucking hell. And at the end of it, all that's going to be left is a fucking toxic industrial fucking shit pile. And then the human race is going to move on, like the space fleas it is, to the next fucking poor planet, which won't be Mars. Mars will be a stopping point for the space fleas, as the space fleas then fucking try and hop to another fucking star system to strip mine another planet, yeah? And it's all like Avatar and stuff like that. But this is our planet, and it's being destroyed. The Earth is my home. Like, the Earth is my mother. And every day I feel her cry out in pain from what the human race is doing to it, and I want it to end. And I'm so at this point where I'm like ready to go kind of like full Allah Akbar, and I'm like, that would also really hurt my mum if I did that. But and obviously I can't kill fucking 7.5 billion people either. Not on my own. And it's like, then all of a sudden you start to kind of fall into your own narcissism. You're like, well, I'll choose my targets. And you're like, oh, and there you go. You see, that's how you fall into the trap. So I just wanted to kind of like put this video out, really, to just kind of explain to myself and to other people that, you know, I mean, gosh, I've been doing this channel now for a few 6 months or so, and I know that nobody's really watching. And it's for those people who might be watching, still left, right, and centre. It's kind of important for me to just sort of like, you know, hopefully you learn that a lot of the stuff is mental tricks, and preying on that broken human nature of not being able to be aware of all of the bits of information that you have, and kind of coming up with the wrong answers. And so it's sort of like, really, not let that get to you, especially when narcissists kind of pick at you, because it's important when the narcissists pick at you that you be kind to yourself and know that it's not your fault that they're doing that, and it's not your fault that you're a person that they can pick at. It's like chipping away at a wall. After a while you'll get through to the other side if you work hard enough. So yeah, and that's it. I hope that helped, and I shall see you later.